Hello and welcome to Sweet Spot DFS. This is a 2019 preview of the Travelers Championship. This week, I think, is going to be fairly difficult. I could not see any kind of anything, really, when it came to like the bucket system. I didn't find a single thing that I could identify as an advantage. But we'll get there. And all I want to show you right now is the course information. We are at TPC River Highlands. It's in Cromwell, Connecticut, so we're in the Northeast. Obviously, Connecticut, if you know anything about geography. It's a par 70, 6,800 yards, so it's a fairly short golf course. Average on tour is around like 7,200, so this one's pretty short. We have bent and POA mix, so just like any other week, as we go through all of this, the one thing that I find to be more important is the POA. So POA is the more invasive grass. You've heard me say this before. I'll continue to say it for any new listener. POA is more invasive than bent grass. So we're going to focus more on POA splits. So right above, you can see right now, POA specialists, I have the top 5 listed there. That's the overall average, so it's not the 2019 average, so it takes into account all the years going back to 2013. And then you'll also see some other stats that I have up there. They're just top 5. Pete Dye specialist right now says overall average, so that would be since 2013, and now we have 2019 showing. Just so I give you guys, some names that you're obviously going to be familiar with, and also see a few times up there. So really, just full disclosure, Patrick Cantlay is my favorite golfer this week. He shows up in just about every stat. And when we get to the bucket system, he actually fits in that model as well. So yeah, really like him this week. He's got some pretty decent Pete Dye stats, and we'll see that also. So we'll get off the course information. Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing. It's a Pete Dye golf course. That matters. If you guys don't know, Pete Dye does a really good job of playing with your mind. So let's see. If I were to take these two booklets here. So let's say this is the green, right? Say we're looking at a putt like this. He has something in the background, that's tilted like that will make this flat putt look like it breaks like that. So he's just a master at playing with your mind. And so I've played on Pete Dye golf courses. I had a job in California working at a golf course as an assistant golf professional. And that was the first time I ever played a Pete Dye golf course. And it was challenging, to say the least. I'm a pretty decent putter. I really putt well on bent grass, and that was overseeded with ryegrass. So really the grass type didn't matter. Rye is pretty generic where you don't really have to worry too much. It can be a little grainy, but you don't have to worry too much about that. But it was a Pete Dye golf course, and he uses a lot of railroad ties to prop up certain parts of the course. I mean, just look at the Players' Championship, TPC Sawgrass. You see railroad ties all over the place. Hole 16 and 17, so the wooden planks that are holding them up, those are old, reused railroad ties. So the wood that's underneath the metal, that's, if you don't know what a railroad tie is. So he does a lot of that. He just manipulates your mind when you're playing, and I think it matters playing those golf courses, having that type of history. Don't get me wrong, a random person could go out and shoot really well. So take that into account. Take it for what it is. I'm not going to hark on it too much. So I should say, I don't want to hark on it too much, but I do want to make it important. It is something you have to look at this week. and finding golfers. We'll see from 2018 stats. So let's get into the course breakdown. So I have the notes page up here, like I typically always do. And I don't really have much information other than what I've already added, but you can already start to see kind of what I already have in place here for the buckets, and we'll show a better graphic of this. But I do want to point out something really quick. Let me zoom in just so it's a little easier for you guys to see. So the top 5 is different than the top 10. Finishing top 20 last year is a 2 for a top 5 finish, but it is a 4 for a top 10 finish. That just means golfers between, obviously 6th and 10th place, there were more golfers that finished in other positions the year prior. Everything kind of dropped down 1 from 4. So 4 became a 3. If you look here, 4 became a 3, and a 3 became a 2. So those kind of superseded this one, a 4. So just to explain that, so again, I sum these numbers up. So for this right here, that's 9, followed by 7. 7 again right here. So really these are tied, but I always kind of give the nod to the ones that just have a better finish. So obviously I'll give more of a nod to someone who finished 20th or better. And then our 4 has 5. If we go down to the top 10 here, ones here now become 13, so we added a few more. The 2s, which were tied before, that were a 3, now have 11. The 3s have 10, and the 4s have 9. So really, when we look at all of that, it doesn't really matter. It's like it's the most even number that I've came across this year. So the last year bucket, I don't think I'm going to use much of. I will say this. I will use ones because, again, I like to look at the min-max. So there's at least one that's in the top 5 and at least one in the top 10. So I will use that information. I'll also use the 3s because the 3s are pretty important. Finding the top 10, and I will probably sprinkle in the 4s. I don't know about the 2s. I don't feel comfortable with it. So, take it as you will. And anyways, I want to show you the last year top 10 matrix, just a cleaner version of it. So that way you guys can see it. Nothing that I haven't already talked about. The 1s, golfers who did not play last year, the 2s, golfers between the 40th and 60th place of last year. And that's really interesting because 40th to 60th place is kind of a dead zone. And let me share one more thing. 2016 is the only year the Travelers did not follow the US Open. It actually followed the PGA Championship. So taking 2016 into account, we might be able to kind of get rid of, I don't even know if we should. It's just, I don't know, it's an outlier pretty much. You could look at the other years to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say consistent, but they'd give you a better idea of what it's like to come from a US Open over. And actually, we'll see that from the last week stats. So let me get that on the screen. So looking back the last 5 years, you see not playing the week before, we have a min of 3. So I'm probably going to focus more on finding at least 3 golfers, probably sticking around 4 and kind of cascading, trying to find, golfers in other ranges that will take one of those spots away to get down to 3, but I'm going to at least have 3. 3 ones, that is. And then the 2s are someone who finished 20th to 40th place, which is not surprising to me. So a lot of people are wondering, how will the US Open, that grind that the golfers put into trying to win the tournament, how much is that going to play a factor into this tournament? Well, we would see that it's kind of a huge factor. I mean, look at that 20th or better result. It's our 4th ranked bucket for last week. So, and we haven't had more than 2 golfers inside the top 10. 2 inside the top 10. Now, part of that also is there aren't many of those types of golfers that golf the week after the U.S. Open. But I also would I would say, use caution, because I bet you anyone that did finish inside the top 10 at least probably is a bit fatigued. And really the top 20, if John Rahm was playing in this tournament, I'd say maybe not him, because he shot a low round on Sunday and backdoored his way into a top 5 position. I don't think it really was that difficult for him. He was just shooting lights out. So just want to leave that with you guys, and then we can also look at the bucket combination as well. There really isn't any tell with this either. I can't find a combination that we see from year to year. I at first I was like, oh, let's look at the 3 threes, and that's not one. Let's look at the 1 1s. You don't see that in every year. So there really isn't anything that really stands out that we can look at. Perhaps 1 2s. Looks like 1 2s are in every year. Yes, they are. So maybe finding that one combo of a 1 2, and that's just top 10s. So when I look at this, I like to, when I'm looking at the top 5, I'm just looking at, sometimes the top 5 includes more than just the top 5 from top to bottom. But if I just take the top 5 from top to bottom, I see 1s, 3s, and 2s for last year. And, you see 1s, 2s, and 3s for last week. So really finding that mix, I'm probably going to do that. 2016 again, it followed the PGA Championship, so I don't know really if you want to take that information that serious or into account. That's where we see a lot of 6s in the last week column. So I'm going to personally, what I'm going to do is just ignore it and use 2018, 2017, 15, and 14 as my measuring stick. So again, I'm going to find 1 2s, probably sprinkle in some 1 1s, some 2 1s, some 3 3. It's just going to be all over the place. I'm not going to have really, I'm not going to have a method this week, I don't think, other than just putting 1s in my lineup. At least 3, sprinkle in 4. You can see in the top 5, you see at least 1 in every single one. You do have 2 in one of them, but that's you've seen in 2015 as well as 2016 and 2018. So just want to leave that with you. Let's get back to spreadsheet here. Let's go into one thing I want to show you guys that I really haven't from week to week is I have these recent form tabs that have just a bunch of information on them. Course history, last year's result, recent form, which is taking into account the last 7 weeks. I think the last 7 weeks is a pretty good number. I've done 5, and it didn't really give me. I mean, some golfers don't golf 5, for 5 weeks, which you could make the argument and say, well, that information isn't important if they golfed 6 weeks ago or 7 weeks ago and that was the last time. And I wouldn't technically I wouldn't disagree with you, but I do want to see like some kind of consistency. I don't necessarily always look at this because as we go through, so this is just the 2019 recent form tab. If I go to 2018 and we look at the recent form, I like to keep this information just to look at look for myself to look at, because how many times do you hear DFS pros talk about, I'm looking for someone who has good recent form, or I like X, Y, and Z because they've been playing out of their mind. Bubba Watson, approaching this tournament, did not have, a good recent form. He had missed the cut the week before at the US Open, got 44th at the Memorial, and got 57th at the Players' Championship. Didn't look like he was doing that great. So really, I like to look at this and say, you know what? I can ignore recent form. I can, and that's basically when I see this, this kind of setup here, or these results here. I'm just going, whatever. I don't really care. And then I also like looking at course history. So this is course history prior to 2018. And it only goes back to 2013. So as we go through the years, it's only going to 2013. That's as far back as my data goes. We can see it's a hodgepodge. It's just it's a mix. It's just random. So again, course history, it looks like it's important to have some. We don't have a blank. Chase Seifert last year was a Monday qualifier. He did not have course history and finished 9th. But otherwise, we do have some course history and Anirban Lahiri that year. Obviously, the last year column was 17th. His course history is 17th. It's probably his only course history. But as you can tell, he finished inside the top 20 the year before, finished inside the top 10. So that just adds to that bucket, of last year. Let's go to 2017. Now we have Spieth. That was his first year playing. He ended up winning it. David Hearn, I know, had played there before, but CT Pan, that was his first time playing it. And then again, recent form. We've got one, hot golfer, Paul Casey. You could even say Patrick Reed was doing pretty well. But it's, kind of middle of the pack. And here's 2016. So this is following the PGA Championship, like I had said before. We did not have the Greenbrier because it was flooded. So really, we only have 6 weeks of course, or recent form. But again, recent form, not nothing exciting. I mean, Tyrrell Hatton was down here. He didn't really finish that great. You've got Zach Johnson and Ches Reavie. I just want to show you like what course, recent form, how much it doesn't really matter at this golf course. So you can almost ignore how well someone's been doing. Again, that's kind of why I care about the last year and last week. Just trying to find some kind of combination, try to find some kind of pattern recognition to figure out, that type of information. And I understand you guys can actually see what I'm looking at. So I'm going to unlock this. So I've got these tabs here at the bottom. So there's 2015, 2014, 2013. So I just wanted to show you that's what I'm tabbing through. So I kind of am telling you what year it is, but I just wanted you to see what the actual year was. So, or just so, I'm not messing with you guys. So again, 2015 recent form doesn't really matter. It looks like it matters to have some recent form. I bet you Paul Casey had played here before. I just don't have data, going further back than 2013. Same with Luke Donald. So again, it matters that you had some history. 2014, now we have Sergio. I guarantee you Sergio played here before. And again, last year, look at all the information. So we had course history there as well. So really, I'm looking at my buckets, just trying to find golfers that just match that. And again, recent form didn't really matter. So it's enough hammering that through. I want to look at, okay, so here's a 20. So now we're kind of getting into tournaments where I actually have data of me playing DraftKings and me setting this up. As you can see, the spreadsheet's a little bit different looking than what I've kind of gotten to, and that's just me doing trial and error, trying to figure everything out. So, this is my cat's playing with the toy. So let's go to the results. So if we look at, first, the top 10 here and try to find something that we can use for this week's tournament, I like to go, so this is obviously taking into account that field for the 2018 Travelers Championship. So if I go to overall Pete Dye and look, you're going to see a lot of people inside the top 20. And there's Bubba. So the top 10 golfers, everybody was top 20 except for 3. And those 3 were pretty phenomenal golfers. I won't say phenomenal, but, sort of elite golfers. Siwoo kind of being the only one I wouldn't indicate as an elite golfer that isn't inside the top 20, but I just want you to see you got 2 second places and a first place for Pete Dye, and that was the overall Pete Dye average. So that was from 2013 all the way to 2017, and that's kind of what we're going to look at. And same is going to apply for the 2018 Pete Dye stats. So now we have, these golfers here, but again, look at all the top 20 stats. So, I wouldn't say top 20 stats, top 20 finishes. You don't see Bubba, who won the tournament, but like it would get you on guys like Bo Hosler, Jamie Love, Mark. Cantlay was only $8,400 last year. So it's just kind of showing you what's important. And then I didn't really keep a lot of swing metrics at that time, but if we go here and go off of the tee, shots gained, again, we've got 4 golfers who finished inside the top 20 who were at the top of the field for that week. And we really don't have a missed cut at all. Missed cut would be like an 85 over here. So, I mean, the information kind of, it works out. So I just wanted to show you guys, again, look at the birdie or better percentage. So again, we've got a lot of top 20 finishes. So I'm looking at shots gained off the tee. I'm looking at all the Pete Dye stats. I'm also going to look at POA stats and birdie or better, because I think that is very important this week. So if we go back to the 2019 DK page, we can then filter by these. So again, I'm not going to worry about really the last week bucket this week. I say that, and I mean, I'm going to, but it's just not, I'm not going to be really trying to, push it on you guys to figure, like, hey, let's use ones. We need 3 ones. I do want 3 ones for last week. So I suppose I could clear this out and just put the ones here and look at all of the ones and then sort by overall Pete Dye, find one. And I also like to show how many events that a golfer's played in. So I think this is Jose de Jesus Rodriguez. He's only played 1 Pete Dye event. So his 2018 or his 28 overall average, pretty darn good. But it's only 1 event. So I'm going to take out all the way up to 3 events and just show these golfers. So we've got, okay, you guys can still see. So I just want to show you guys. All right, so we still have the bucket 1 here with the different last year finishes. I'm just going to, bring it over here so we can see the rest of this data. I like to look at the top 10 Pete Dye finishing. The pretty much the percentage that a golfer finishes inside a Pete Dye event, or inside the top 10 at a Pete Dye event. That's what this means. That's what this column means. I know I kind of screw it up every once in a while when I talk about it. So Seamus Power has played 10 Pete Dye events. His overall finishing position is 37.9. His 2019 finishing position is 32.75, and he finds the top 10 at a 30% clip. It's pretty darn good. I will probably be playing some Seamus Power, which is kind of intriguing, very interesting. It's followed by Russell Knox, Charlie Hoffman, Ryan Moore. Those are all golfers that I know a lot of the DFS community is on, especially Ryan Moore. I do like Ryan Moore this week, and I think he's a pretty decent play. Then you've got Bud Colley, who's kind of been streaky, so I think he's worth kind of a flyer. Adam Hadwin, and then just, multitude. What you don't see are some of the high-end golfers here, and partly because they did play last week. So these are golfers who did not play at the U.S. Open last week. So take it with what you will. Jason Kokrak is another favorite, and so is Kevin Streelman. We've seen Streelman, or if you watch a lot of the other videos, Streelman pops up on a lot of videos, and rightfully so. But I think Kokrak's value is pretty darn good. Basically, his points per game matches salary pretty darn close. If we were to go and look at the best value, Troy Merritt, followed by Matthew Wolff, who is kind of a up-and-coming rookie. So if some of you guys don't know Matthew Wolff, he's got a very unique golf swing that people will be talking about a lot this week, but he's very talented, super talented, very consistent. I think he's definitely worth a play. I like seeing Sam Ryder up there. So Sam Ryder had an interview today on the PGA radio. He talked about how his Sunday round last year, he shot a 63, a 7 under 63. And he was talking about that as kind of something to catapult him going forward. I don't know how much I care about that, but it is kind of fun to listen to that kind of thing, just giving you some insight as to a golfer's mind and his confidence going into the tournament. So I really like looking at the top 10% and then just seeing the events. So Brian Harman is pretty high, but his 2019 stats this year have not been so great. I suppose, man, JT Poston has some good stats. That's kind of scary. Kevin Streelman has good top 10 percentage stats, but not a very good overall percentage. So I guess, if we were to tie break this also, so we have, I'm just going to hide this information. And now we'll get to our POA splits and see if we can find any kind of correlation between POA. So, okay, now we have Ryan Moore. That's the top. And first thing I notice is these scores are not that great, the overall score. I think you should play a couple of these guys, but I'm not liking any of this down here. Not to say that it should really deter you from playing, but it does get me more on the golfers of Ryan Moore, Kevin Streelman, and Charlie Hoffman. So I think I'll definitely think about that a little bit more often. Let's get rid of the ones. Let's go ahead and put everybody in here. So this will include all the studs. So right now we're still filtered by overall POA splits. And quite honestly, I mean, Paul Casey played one event this year and missed a cut. I think it was the Players' Championship. I could be wrong, could have been Harbortown. I'm not positive for his miscut at a Pete Dye. But his POA splits are fantastic. His overall Pete Dye score is really good. So is Jason Day's, and so is Patrick Cantlay, which he has a 41% clip of finishing inside the top 10 at Pete Dye golf courses. So that's pretty darn good. And then he has a top 10 clip of 39% finishing inside POA events, inside the top 10 at POA events. So really Casey, Day, and Cantlay. You can even sprinkle Spieth and Finau in there, and then you also see Brooks Koepka. And I'm not sure how I feel about Koepka this week. I think the U.S. Open probably took a lot out of him. So I really don't know how I feel about that, to be quite honest with you. I faded him last week. I think it would be smart to fade him this week. We could always use the narrative that he doesn't play well at normal events. So, just probably keep up with that kind of logic, that narrative that he's not going to finish well inside, at a normal event. But you see a lot of the big names up there. Bubba's up there, Mickelson, Reed, Justin Thomas is a favorite of a lot of golfers. I think my biggest confidence play is Patrick Cantlay this week. And I think I will probably have him in a lot of my lineups. He is also a 2 last week, but so are these guys. And I guess if we wanted to kind of look here, let's how many 2s can we play? Minimum's 1, and the max is 3. And then if we go to our bucket combinations, you see a 2 in the top 5 pretty much every tournament except for 2018. So I think I'm gonna be pretty confident playing 2s. One thing you don't see are many 4-2s on there, and all of these guys are 4-2s. So that is kind of difficult. Let's do this. Let's see how many 1-2s we can find that we like, because that was every year. There you go. So we have 3 golfers to choose from: Mark Leishman, Colin Morikawa, and Alex Prue. And this is why I like doing the buckets, because now it puts you on golfers that you probably would never play. Like Mark Leishman's Pete Dye stats don't look good, but he is over 7%, which I kind of want to play him now. Because I don't know how many, I don't know if anyone's really going to play Mark Leishman, to be honest with you. POA splits are okay. He has a 16% clip to find the top 10 in POA splits. His overall POA is okay. 2019 POA was pretty decent. Pete Dye, 2019 Pete Dye stats, not very great. So I don't know. It's difficult to say. But we have 3 1-2s. So you could anchor one of your lineups with one of these guys. And if you made 100 lineups, maybe you make 40 with Leishman, 30 with Colin, and 30 with Alex Prue. Hey, who knows? Who knows? We'll visit this in the review. And we'll see if it came, to fruition. And if it did, then we're idiots for not playing it. And if it works out and we do play it, we look like heroes. So I think that's worth, I don't know, man. I think that's worth the admission. I think I'm going to play a lot of Mark Leishman now that I see that. It might be, fool's gold, but I might have a lot of Patrick Cantlay and Mark Leishman lineups. Maybe when I look at that, I don't want, because I do think about the 2s and how many 2s you should have. Who knows? I'll do that, but I probably won't pair up many other 2s for last week. Yeah, probably not. So hopefully I gave you guys enough information, enough insight to, I guess, inform yourself. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hide all of this. There's one piece that I forgot to get to, and that would be the stats. So I have a ranking over here of where they're ranked in the field. So off of the tee was the big one. If you recall, Bubba is leading off the tee. Actually, was it off the tee or was it tee to green? It was off the tee. Okay. And really, you could use tee to green stats, honestly. I think that's a pretty darn good stat. But let's just do off of the tee because, we do have quite a bit of people with top 10 stats of tee to green in here as well. There you go. You got Patrick Cantlay, Jason Day. Maybe Jason Day is a good pivot off of Cantlay. And I really do like Tommy Fleetwood this week. You do see him right now. You see Pete Dye specialist. He is the top guy. He doesn't have as many of events as the rest of them, but you know he's leading he's leading 2019 Pete Dye stats. He's leading the overall Pete Dye stats. Doesn't look like he's got a very good POA stats or stat right there. I should have included off of the tee up there, but I put tee to green. But he is top 5 in tee to green. Is he top 5? Did I mark that wrong? Well, let's see. Doesn't matter. He's 6th. So I put him top 5. I don't know why. Oh, I didn't. Okay, so he's 6th tee to green. You guys can't see that on the little thing that's moving across up there. But he is 6th tee to green. But off of the tee, he is 4th. I like that a lot. And there's Alex Prue. So there's a 1-2 that we already looked at. I had played him the week before the U.S. Open, and he broke my heart. That's not a good reason to not play somebody, but that is kind of how the human mind works. So I might not play him all that often. I'll put him in some lineups now that I see that. We also want to look at birdie or better ranking. So we will see who's at the top there. Of course, Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, and Patrick Cantlay. Like, it's just, I don't know if this is the perfect storm of Patrick Cantlay missing the cut now, but he is leading all of those stats. I like him quite a bit. I don't know what he finished 21st last week, so you know he wasn't really in the thick of things. So I don't think fatigue was really a big factor for him. So I mean, I guess that's something to think about. But yeah, I think we're good to go playing Patrick Cantlay, and he might. I think I've already burned him in my one and dones, but if you have him available, this might be a good week to play him. All right, guys. Well, with that, I'm going to give you back your day. Again, thank you for watching. Good luck with your contest this week. If you like the video, please give a like. If you have any feedback, please let me know. You can use the comment section below. You can tweet me at SweetSpotDFS. You can also email me. Same thing, sweetspotdfs@gmail.com. And, you know, just give me anything. Show me that you like the video, that you want to see more videos. Yeah, you know, do the thing. I won't continue going on. All right, guys, have a good week. Thanks. Bye.